what percent of men are even using women? It's like 80% of women are involved in hookup culture, maybe 5% of men. Yeah. And I can tell you, I can even say this like from doing my show, I'll interview a guy.
Who is truly to blame for hookup culture? Is it women, men, or both? Welcome back to the Wilson Brothers channel. I'm David, this is Isaac.
What's up?
Today we are reacting to Michael Knowles interviewing Pearl Davis from Pearly Things. You might have seen her. She is known as the Red Pill Woman on Twitter and one of the most controversial women, I would say, in the world. So we're going to dive deep into this. They're talking about hookup culture. Who's to blame? Let's get it going.
Let's get it.
I agree, you know, the divorce courts are jilted toward women or whatever. But like the woman who goes to university, I'm sure you get these letters, I get them too. Mm-hmm. Woman who goes to a university is told, hook up with every guy you can, study some...
She chooses to, not told.
She's also told, and she chooses to.
Yeah,
she's also told by the culture.
Because that's what she wants to do.
But she's also told to do it by the culture. You can't downplay that.
You can't downplay culture.
You can be told to do so. I could be told to jump off a bridge. That doesn't mean
right, I know, but you just said she's not told that, and I'm saying she very much is told.
Well, I'm saying she doesn't have to listen. I think it takes accountability off of women when we're constantly saying that the world told you to, and that's why you did it.
No. I agree that their wills have been malformed, and that our entire education system, broadly speaking, and now indulges the lower passions and denies the rational will and denies the place of reason and truth in public life. But so she does that, and she makes bad choices, and she picks some dumb major, and she graduates, and she's told, don't get married. You got to move to the city, and you got to sleep with 1,000 men, and you got to get a job working as a middle manager at a widget factory. And you're going to do that, and you're going to totally bypass your childbearing years, sleeping around and going out for brunch and working for Mr. McGillicuddy at the widget factory.
She chooses to do that.
She's choosing it, and she's making a poor choice, and she's being encouraged to do it by a fallen culture. And then she's going to wake up one day, and she's going to be about 34, and she's going to regret all of these decisions, and she's going to cry into TikTok. That's what's going to happen. That is a consequence. Living with the consequences of being used by men, of not being able to have a harder time getting married, not having kids, and
why is it that? What?
That's a consequence.
I'm sorry. I've been cutting you off a couple times. Okay. I do apologize.
I've got thick skin.
I do. I don't mean to cut you off.
It's okay.
But because my question is, why do we always say is used by men?
Because men
women
use women for sex.
No, but women don't use. You know, there are women that hunt top men down and try to sleep with them.
I'm sure the top men are at the top. I mean, I don't know what top men.
But I know,
probably some pickup artist.
Even the way you describe it, it's like always putting it on the men.
Because men and women react differently to sex, and because men tend to pursue in sex, and women tend to be pursued. Because
no, not the top guys. You know,
what do you mean by top guy?
Yeah, like
She's doing the same thing again. She's using a very small percentage of highly successful men as the standard, and that is not the standard.
The truth is women are used by men more because you know why? Women are the gatekeepers. I love the saying, not love the saying, but
they're gatekeepers for sex.
Yeah, we've all heard that. Yeah. Any woman that is decently looking to go out on a Friday night and pick up a guy.
Easy.
There is guys, unless you
have game,
have studied it, and almost in some ways have to manipulate women, which is terrible to say, and I'm not for that. It's terrible. It is much more difficult for a guy to get into that world and actually be able to sleep with whoever he wants. Now, we are against that. We don't think men should do that. You should spend that time developing yourself, becoming stronger in who you are, and so that you can have an actual family.
Yeah.
But everything Michael said was spot on, that society is teaching women to do all these things, you know, go in the corporate ladder, become a middle manager, try to work your way up, go out there, have a good time, party. So by the time you're 34, what else do you have?
It's what culture values, and culture has shifted away from a nuclear family structure into a fallen nature of lower level pleasures instead of higher level virtues.
Yeah.
Lower level pleasures will always be easier to get and attain, but it doesn't bring fulfillment longer down the road. That's why hookup culture is so damaging.
No, I agree. And the one thing I don't like that Pearl seems to do, because we've been watching a lot of her videos, is that she takes all the blame off of men. And she puts it all on women, which is kind of ironic.
It's a pendulum.
Woman.
She's doing it on purpose. She makes money on it.
Yeah, she's doing it on purpose, but she's taking it all off of men and just trying to empower men solely, which is great for her marketing.
Yeah.
She's like the female, people call her the female Andrew Tate, all this stuff. But she's taking it all off of men and putting it on women. And our thing is we're preaching is men need to take responsibility, and they can change the culture by standing up and being strong. But let's keep going.
Interviewed, I had Brittany Renner on my show. Do you know who that is?
I don't.
You know, there are girls that they learn she talks about this. They learn every single thing about, like, they become targets, the men.
Yeah.
You know, and they get the guys to sleep with them. They try to steal condoms. Like, this is not.
Who's a top man? You mentioned a woman. Who's a top man?
Yeah.
And am I?
Well, this is something.
I want to be.
If you were
called
dating
a top
again,
man.
you might be.
I would be. All right. That's good.
You might be. I mean, women, when there's money, you know.
Just my money? It's not my sparkling personality and my good looks? All right.
Look at there. But I just noticed in the language, like, somehow it's always the men's fault when we talk about sin. So even in that sin,
women
it's,
sin, but
it's
women are
women
easily women are taken advantage of because
I disagree.
Do you think men and women relate to sex in the same way?
I think that at times women have more sexual power than men.
I'm not saying
that's
and
true.
So,
Women
and
always
so
have more
women,
sexual
power.
I mean,
Yeah,
women
that's true.
take advantage of. You could say women take advantage of lonely men on OnlyFans.
But they do.
Yeah.
What I'm
Yeah.
asking is, do you think that men and women relate to sex in the same way?
Answer.
No.
They don't. That's
course
why
not.
we talk about men and women in sex differently, and we ascribe different moral.
Right, but I think your accountability
purely
for the
biological.
action is still, it's on you. So I don't think when women sin, it's the fault of society. I don't think it's the fault the men are just using you. You know, I think that when women do that, it's a choice.
Sure. Do you think
And
people
I
can be
don't-
deceived?
I think women play dumb a lot. It's like I'll interview these women on abortion, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know. What, you didn't have Google?"
Yeah. Well, you say they play dumb, which they do, but are they
Yeah,
dumb
but
sometimes?
that's my
That's what I'm asking.
well.
You would say yes. You would say yes.
Yeah,
but people
but-
obviously
but-
can be deceived.
They can be deceived, but you're still accountable for the choices that you make. And I don't necessarily. I think sometimes it's just the easier choice. Like, women don't want to do the hard thing.
What's the hard thing?
I would say it's easy to sleep around.
Yeah,
That's an easy thing to do. Women are
It's a
picking-
temptation for
women
men
are-
too.
Correct,
more for
but
men.
but it's easier for women.
That's true.
It's much easier for women. I will say this again. I'm giving my hypothesis or what I think about with this. It's men have more control once the decision to sleep together has been made. And what I mean by that,
Yeah.
the whole saying that men call the woman back, within 3 days, all the power has been put on the men of what to do after that. So I think what Michael is saying about how men tend to use women, if a man wants to lie his butt off and manipulate the woman to sleep with him because he's promising her something, he has all the power to fulfill that promise and actually pursue her, or to take advantage of her in that moment and then walk away.
Yeah.
And so that's what I believe the problem is. We need to call men out to be strong and be men of moral integrity, because you are the deciding factor if a relationship moves forward or not. In that way, especially if you promise a woman all these things. Women are the gatekeeper, but men are the gatekeeper, and if a relationship is going to keep going once you've emotionally given of yourself and
But
had
even
sex.
the foundation of this whole argument is so stupid, because we believe on this channel that sex is between obviously a man and a woman in marriage. That's
Should
the
be.
whole point.
Should be.
And it you lower the morality standard to a fallen nature of deception when you open the door to that pervasive culture and language. And what he's talking about is deception, and she's assuming that women and men can't be deceived. They can just Google it. But when you grow up in a culture where they're teaching you about all these sexual things at 4, 5, 6 years old in school, your brain is becoming hardwired to think that way and to potentially be deceived.
Yeah, Michael is talking about nature, and she is ignoring nurture.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that
like
is he's
that.
talking about how women and men are built differently. We
Yeah.
respond to sex differently.
Yeah.
And she is purely talking about women need to take responsibility in this, but she's ignoring that women are very affected by nurture, how they're raised, if they have a father in the home. Most OnlyFans models don't have a father in the home, or they don't talk to their father. So
Yeah.
that's a part of the nurturing process that goes into women they do need to take responsibility, but they
Yeah.
are more a product of their environment like that. I've seen more men have a horrible upbringing and get out of it because they're able just to push through. Women are more of a product of how they're raised.
Yeah, daddy issues.
Yeah,
they call it
they're
daddy
more
issues.
of a product of how they're raised than men are, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Correct. That's the getting.
That's kind of why I attack the guys for using women.
Yeah.
Well, what percent of men are even using women? It's like 80% of women are involved in hookup culture, maybe 5% of men. And I can tell you, I can even say this like from doing my show. I'll interview a guy. He's sleeping with like 3, 4, he'll go on 3, 4 chicks from the show.
Right, that's bad, right? That's bad. You would say that's a bad thing for him.
Sure. But my point is more women. There's 5 women partaking in it where there's 1 man.
But it's one man doing it 5 times as much as the women. That's why I'm knocking the men.
But my point is more women are responsible for hookup culture than men.
But the men are more, you just acknowledged the men are more culpable in that they are doing it more frequently than the women.
No, I would say there's 5 women, so it's way more common.
But they're individually each doing it with the same guy.
But I'm talking about like you're basically saying to men, oh, don't sleep. Most men can't. Most men aren't.
Which is good. That's actually a great limitation.
Wait, what?
Fine. But
what is she saying? 80% of women are involved in hookup culture and 5% of men. Where are you getting these stats, girl? And then what she's saying is that those women are more culpable.
There's no way.
So those women are more culpable than that guy that's like the pimp.
So that guy shouldn't have as much responsibility as the women.
Yeah, he should be let off the hook because he got the 5 girls while those 5 girls are with one guy.
Yeah,
so again, it comes back to the men are using the women. Do you get that?
Why can't?
Because he's deceiving them.
Why can't we just have a good moral standard anymore?
Gosh.
I'm just so sick of this. Like
I'm just tired of you letting men off the hook.
Men, just be responsible. Stand up for what you believe in. Be like. Don't sleep around. It's not going to do anything for you.
Just go in the gym.
It's just going to leave you empty and broken inside.
Gosh. But it's like,
riz.
But it's just so funny, riz. But it's funny because it's like the hookup culture. Women are more responsible for hookup culture than men. And if there's 10 women, if there's 10 women that partake in it, there's less men that can't.
No, women are more responsible for hookup culture than men because they allow men to sleep with them. And they're the ones who are being pursued. So I agree with you on that.
Well, the top men are the women are pursuing them. I would, if you look at like
top 0.1.
Again, do we have an example of a top man?
I mean, examples that I think of, and I know because this is always where the convo goes. Then it's like the religion decides who's a top man. But I'm talking about like who women.
No, this is the first I'm hearing this term, and I would like it to apply to me, but perhaps it won't. So who's a top man?
An example of a type of man that women go for is, say, athletes.
Yeah, sneaker chasers, jersey chasers, we call them.
Yeah, correct. I'm saying like in those examples, the women are pursuing them. It's not the women being innocent and used. It's women driving to the games, getting a hotel.
Yeah, they're interested.
Stalking. There was one chick. God, it was crazy. She tells me that God, it's just such a crazy story. They literally like figure out where there's like a, what do you call it? A hangout, I guess, after games where the athletes all go and the wives aren't there. And there are women that go there and try to get men to cheat on their wives.
Groupies. They're like groupies.
Yeah, but my point is there are far more women responsible for hookup culture than men. But yet, when I go on podcasts, we always somehow bring the conversation back to the men, even though far more women are engaging in it.
This is, I guess,
and we can't even definitively say don't date a woman that did sex with
I find this kind of utilitarian view of responsibility actually kind of delightful when you say, look, there's 5 women who are doing it. Though I think it does cut the other way because each of these total Sigma Chad dudes are sleeping with like 5 women each. So I think either way it kind of cuts. But that's not really my question at all. My question is, don't men have a moral responsibility to act in a certain way?
Men cannot lead women that don't want to be led. Yes.
Hold on.
Yes. Wait. I'm gonna
yes,
finish.
okay.
Let me finish, Mike.
Okay. I was trying to lead you.
Sorry. No. I do think men have a moral responsibility to act in a certain way. Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, there you
go.
But
I don't think men have to get married if there are not enough wives to go around.
But
it's like it doesn't.
If there are not enough women who you say are marriageable.
You know what's so crazy?
What?
Under the age of 35.
Yeah.
Now the problem is with a lot of these. I know we're gonna go
Statistics are all fake, but I'm happy to hear them.
Well, I'd believe it too, just from interviewing 1,000 women.
Yeah,
5 to
most of them are
15% of women under
OnlyFans
35
models.
are on full
Can
OnlyFans,
you
cam,
rewind
or
it
some
real
sort
quick?
of sex
Sorry.
work. To 15.
You hear them.
Well, I'd believe it too, just from interviewing 1,000 women. 5 to 15% of women under 35 are on full OnlyFans, cam, or some sort of sex work.
Oh my gosh, dude. 5 to 15% of women are on OnlyFans or some kind of online.
She might be right.
There is no way.
Hey, man, there's a lot of OnlyFans accounts.
5 to 15% of women?
Under 35.
There is no way. Dude, do you know how many people that is?
You know how many OnlyFans accounts there are?
Not that many.
Yeah, I can look it up.
Hey, look it up. She at least admitted that men need to take responsibility, but she doesn't go into any more depth of that. She's like the ultimate men's spokeswoman. All about.
Did she say OnlyFans or sex work or both?
She said doing some kind of online sex work, like some kind of OnlyFans, being on.
Okay, so
cam.
there's let's see.
It's mostly OnlyFans though, unless you're doing like, the other nude sites that I won't discuss.
As of October 2023, OnlyFans has 187 million users and 2.1 million of them being content creators.
So 2.1. See how many women there are in the United. See how many women there are. Because she didn't say U.S. She said global, right? I mean, she didn't say just U.S. How many women under 35, between 15 and I guess 18 and 35, let's say, are there in the world?
How many women under 35 in the world?
Between 18 and 35, and then also to the U.S.
18,
because OnlyFans, that was globally, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Let's just do globally. It's easier.
We have to fact check you, Pearl, because this is ridiculous. There's no way.
I mean, just rough estimate. How many people are there in the world? 8 billion?
There's 8 billion. I would say probably.
Let's say 50%.
No, between women 18 to 35.
30%.
No, because there's half of them are women. So let's say
10%.
10% of
Just
women.
to be
We're gonna say
conservative.
10%. Let's say 700 million people, and you just said that there's 2.1% OnlyFans content creators.
Yeah.
Let's double that for the rest of the nude industry, right? You're throwing out stats without anything to back you up.
That's a really
5 to
Pearl,
15.
Pearl, I would expect more out of you, honestly.
That's ridiculous.
Because you can't just throw a stat out like that. I
Yeah.
mean, yes,
I'm
they
done with
affect a big portion of the population
Yeah.
of men, right?
I would respect what Pearl's saying if she actually held men to some kind of responsibility, because she's completely ignoring the fact that women are more emotional creatures and they want to be led. But she's saying, how many women do you think are worth being led? What I'm saying is you only need to marry one person. Now,
Well, her argument is that because it's harder for men to get a woman, women are more into the hookup culture because it's easier for them to hook up than men.
No, it is.
But that's her argument.
Yeah, but she said that only 5% of men are in the culture and 80% of women are. That's just those random stats.
She's taking high level percentages.
Yeah,
of
that's
women.
ridiculous.
And
all I'm saying is, if you're gonna call men out, if you're gonna call women out, call men out too, because we'll call them both out when they're wrong. You have to be able to hold both to a standard.
Yep.
You can't just completely slam women and then say men have no responsibility. Like, she finally said that there's some responsibility, but that's all she said. So what do you guys think of this? Do you agree with Pearl? Do you agree with Michael? I want Pearl to elaborate why she believes certain things, but she throws out random stats. I don't know. I enjoy watching you, Pearl. I think you have a lot of good things to say about that can help empower men, especially when it comes to a lot of different issues. But this issue, I don't feel like you got it very right. But love you guys. See you in the next video.
Peace.
Subscribe.